Nobody woke up and decided to be broke. That's the thing nobody says out loud. Every person you know who's struggling financially, they didn't choose it, not consciously. They worked. They tried. Some of them worked hard. And still, at the end of every month, the number in their bank account does this thing where it just disappears. So what's actually happening? Because it can't just be income. There are people making $40,000 a year building real savings, and people pulling six figures who are one missed paycheck from disaster. The money isn't the variable, the mind is. And what's inside that mind is something most people would rather not look at. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Most people don't spend money, they spend emotion. Think about the last time you bought something you didn't need. Not groceries, not rent. Something you clicked on at midnight, or picked up in a store you only went into because you were bored. Ask yourself honestly, what were you feeling right before you spent that money? Stressed? Lonely? Underappreciated at work? Slightly numb from 3 hours of scrolling? Yeah, there's a guy, I'll call him Marcus, though his name doesn't matter, who worked as an IT technician in Birmingham for 11 years, made decent money. Not great, but decent. And every single time he had a conflict with his manager, he'd go home and buy something off Amazon. Headphones he didn't need, a keyboard he'd used twice, a course he'd never opened. He told a researcher studying consumer behavior that the act of buying felt like reclaiming something, like punching back at a day that had taken something from him. Marcus had no savings at 34. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't lazy. He was using money as a painkiller. And the brutal truth is that this is not unusual. It is the norm. The entire consumer economy is built on this exact mechanism. The fact that emotional pain converts almost automatically into a purchase if the friction is low enough. And Amazon, Instagram, every app you open, they've spent billions making sure that friction doesn't exist. There's a phrase that sounds clinical but hits like a hammer when you actually understand it. Delayed gratification. In 1972, a psychologist at Stanford ran an experiment. He sat 4-year-old children in a room, put a marshmallow in front of them, and gave them a choice. Eat it now or wait 15 minutes and get two. Simple. Then they followed those children for decades. The ones who waited, higher SAT scores, more stable relationships, lower rates of obesity, better careers. The ones who ate the marshmallow immediately, not because they were dumb, not because they had no willpower, but because in many cases, they'd grown up in environments where waiting was stupid, where promises broke, where if you didn't take it now, it'd be gone. Their brains had been trained by reality to distrust the future. This is the thing nobody tells you about broke cycles. They're rational responses to irrational environments. Your grandmother who grew up with nothing and spent every dollar she had, she wasn't being reckless. She was being logical inside the world she'd experienced. The problem is you're now operating in a different world, still running her software. The brain doesn't update automatically. You have to force it. Dopamine is the villain of this story. Or maybe it's the protagonist. It depends on who's in charge. Every time you get a notification, a like, a comment, your brain releases a small burst of dopamine. Every time you check your bank account and it's worse than you hoped, the dopamine system doesn't just fail to fire, it actively punishes you. So the brain learns, don't check, don't plan, don't think about the future. That stuff hurts. Instead, scroll, buy, eat, watch, anything that gives a small hit right now. The paycheck to paycheck cycle isn't really a money problem, it's a dopamine architecture problem. People aren't spending irrationally, they're spending in a way that makes perfect sense if you understand that their nervous system is optimized for relief, not for wealth. And the platforms know this. The credit card companies know this. The fast fashion brands know this. They didn't stumble into understanding human psychology by accident. They hired neuroscientists. They A/B tested your impulses until they found exactly which colors, which notifications, which limited time offer, triggers make your hand reach for your wallet before your brain catches up. You're not weak for falling for it. You're human. But knowing it's happening is the first step towards something different. There's a quieter trap that people miss entirely. It's not spending, it's identity. Somewhere along the way, most people absorb a story about who they are in relation to money. Maybe they watched their father work 60 hours a week and still struggle. Maybe they heard, Money doesn't grow on trees enough times that some part of them started to believe scarcity was their birthright. Maybe they got the message from school, from their neighborhood, from the people around them, that wealth was for other people. People who were lucky, connected, a different type. And here's the insidious part. Once that becomes identity, you sabotage opportunities without realizing it. You don't apply for the job that pays more because you probably won't get it. You don't start the thing because people like you don't do that. You spend money you saved because holding savings feels foreign, uncomfortable, like wearing someone else's clothes. Psychologists call this self-concept maintenance. The technical language is boring. The real-life version is devastating. If somewhere inside you believe you're a broke person, you will unconsciously make decisions that confirm that belief. Every time. Not out of stupidity, out of the brain's deep, ancient need for consistency between identity and behavior. The money is downstream of the self-image. Fix the self-image, and watch what happens to the decisions. I want to slow down here because this next part is the one most people skip past. Validation spending. You know what it is? The outfit you bought before the party because you needed to feel like someone worth looking at. The car that stretches your budget because something about driving a cheaper one felt like an admission. The dinner you paid for because splitting the bill made you feel like the kind of person who couldn't. It's not vanity, or not just vanity. It's the purchase of a feeling you don't know how to generate internally. And the reason so many people stay broke isn't because they don't earn enough. It's because they've never separated who they are from what they own. The things become the proof of success, of taste, of worthiness. And since worthiness is an itch that never fully goes away, the spending never fully stops either. This is what the wealthy understand that the poor don't get taught. Things don't confer status. Status is internal. It radiates outward from certainty, not from purchases. The broke person buys the watch to feel successful. The wealthy person feels successful and then sometimes buys the watch. Those two sentences look similar. They describe completely opposite psychologies. So where does all of this leave you? Probably somewhere slightly uncomfortable. Because if you've been honest with yourself through this video, you've probably recognized something, a pattern, a trigger, a story you've been telling yourself that you dressed up as a reason but was really an excuse. That recognition, most people run from it. They watch a video like this and feel something shift for about 45 minutes, and then open a shopping app and the feeling passes. The loop closes. Tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday. The ones who actually change something don't do it through motivation. Motivation is weather. It comes and goes. They do it by looking at the loop clearly, naming it, and then making one decision that breaks it. Not a life overhaul. One decision that then becomes two. The brain changes through repetition, through small, deliberate contradictions of the old story. Here's what nobody puts in the self-improvement content. Staying broke is comfortable. Not financially comfortable, psychologically comfortable. The broke person knows the rules of their world. They know what to worry about, what to want, how to spend a Friday night, what their ceiling is. Wealth requires learning an entirely different game, one with unfamiliar rules, unfamiliar risks, unfamiliar social territory. Most people don't avoid money. They avoid the discomfort of becoming someone new. And that's a choice. Invisible, unconscious, defended with 100 very convincing reasons, but still a choice. The question isn't whether you understand that now. The question is whether understanding it will change what you do in the next 10 minutes.